Hello friends. So I thought I'd make a real quick video about my sourdough making process. It's very simple. So what I have in this bowl is I have 5 cups of bread flour and 1 cup of other flour. For this particular one, you can use white flour, you can use wheat flour. I've used cake flour, just some other flour. So 5 cups of the bread flour and then 1 cup of other flour. For this one, I actually put in a half a cup of wheat and a half a cup of cake just to see how that works out with 1 tablespoon of salt. So 6 cups of flour total, 1 tablespoon of salt. And then you make a little well, you mix it up, you sift it together. First of all, you sift it together and then you just make sure it's mixed up real well. And then you make a little well in the bottom. And you're going to add 1 cup of your starter. This is my mother starter, that's why it has an M on it. 1 cup of the starter, I'll stir that up a little bit and put it in a measuring cup and I'll put it in the well. And then 2 cups of cold water. I put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes just to be sure there's not any chlorine in there. And then we mix it up. So I'll show you how that looks in just a second. So here is my 1 cup of starter. I'm just pouring it into the well. Nice and good. And then I'll just pour some water into this little measuring cup just to be sure that I get the rest of it. I'll use the water that I've already measured off, the 2 cups, and I'll put that in. And then I'll show you how it looks. So here's how it looks with the starter and the water mixed in. And then I just take a spatula, one of my Cutco spatulas, and just start pulling it together and just mixing in the liquids with the flours and the salt. Mix it all around, scrape the sides, and just get a nice mixture until it kind of bonds together and is sticky. And I'll show you how that looks in just a second. So this is my first loaf of donation bread with the saran wrap over the top. And now I'm going to just put a towel over it. And we're going to set that aside in the kitchen for 24 hours. This is for my friend Betty. This is going to be Betty's bread. She was the first person who made a donation to the Pregnancy Care Center of $100, so she's going to be getting this fresh bread tomorrow. Okay, so here's the dough. I'm going to scrape it out, but right now I'm holding on to the camera, so I can't do that. But I'm going to scrape it out onto the board. You'll see it plop right out there. And actually, maybe it will just go by itself. I'll just do it. So because sourdough bread is really sticky dough, what I like to do is just get the spatula and just kind of pull it up like this a little bit before I actually handle it with my hands. Get some more flour incorporated in there. And I read somewhere that you can't over knead sourdough bread, so we'll find out if that's true or not. Sorry, I'm kind of getting the camera off there. So I just do that for a little bit before I actually get it handled. I keep my flour nice and handy here so I can incorporate more as needed. So, you know, you don't do a lot. It's just a few minutes of kneading, and makes it really easy just to kind of pull it up and over, push it down, pull it up from the outside, and push it down. It makes it really easy, and it's a lot cleaner than ground. I may not even use my hands on this one because it's working so well. So, and then we're going to wrap it in a cloth. Okay, I'll finish doing this just for a minute or so, and then we'll put it in the bowl. Okay. There you have it. The dough is in the bowl. I put some flour on the dough, just kind of spread it out with my hands. That will keep it from sticking to the pastry cloth. And then we just covered it just loosely, and it's just going to sit for another couple of hours, and then it's going to be ready to bake. Yum. Okay, so we have about 30 more minutes to let the bread rise, and in that 30 minutes we're going to preheat the oven to 475. 475 start. And we're actually going to put our Dutch oven into the oven so that it preheats also for 30 minutes. And it has to preheat 30 minutes before we start the bread. Okay, so it's been 2 hours since we first put our bread here. Let's take a peek and see how it looks. I'm and it's grown nicely, as you can see. So one of the best secrets that I've learned is parchment paper. So what I've done is I've taken some parchment paper and I'm going to put it over the bowl, and then I'm going to put a plate over the parchment paper, and I'm going to invert the dough onto the plate. You'll see what I mean in just a sec. Okay, so now it's over the bread, and we'll just take that off real quick. And there's our loaf. Then what I'm going to do now is I am going to score it so it gives a nice pretty design for when the bread bakes, and I'll show you that in a sec. So I've just taken a sharp knife and cut it through the dough, and we will put it into the oven and see how it comes out. I just lifted it right into the pan. We'll put the lid on it and stick it back in the oven. See if I can do this. And don't worry about the parchment paper. What's awesome about it is it keeps your pan clean. It doesn't burn even if it's sticking out the sides. And we'll stick that in the oven, and voila, it's all done. So now we need to just put it out to cool. So there you have it, a fresh loaf of sourdough bread right out of the oven. This recipe is really simple. Anyone can do it. The hardest thing about making sourdough bread is this very last step, and that is waiting for it to cool at least 1 hour before you slice it. It's really important. The bread is still doing some processing there, so you have to wait at least 1 hour, ideally 2 to 6 hours, but I know that's really difficult to do. But even after 1 or 2 hours, it's still warm. It's so delicious and wonderfully good. Enjoy!